Right now, Arkansas is definitely the NRA's favorite state because Clarksville High School in Arkansas is going to be arming 20 teachers, administrators, and staff. Yeah, they're giving them $1,100 each to purchase a handgun and a holster. They're gonna get training, and we will have armed teachers in the school. This is completely bonkers, but let's talk about it anyway.
What a great learning environment.
What?
What a terrific way to prime your brain for new information.
With hostility.
The constant fear of gun violence. Now, you could argue that those kids are already living under the constant threat of gun violence, but it at least could be.
Wait, how could you argue that? What
because
gun violence?
People do break into schools.
Okay.
Shoot up
Yeah.
schools. But I mean, at least you could think of that as theoretical. Now these kids know that there are actual guns in the schools with their teachers who they don't necessarily trust.
Right.
Yeah.
I was a teacher for 2 years. Little known random fact, I was a high school teacher for 2 years, and I was a teacher at an at-risk school where some of the kids had actually been in that school because of gun violence specifically. So there was a little bit of a heightened threat because some of these kids had like the ankle bracelet. Some of these kids, a lot of them came from homes with violence in them. The first thing I can say is, as a teacher, you are so overworked and underpaid and stressed out and have such long hours, and there's so much chaos going on in a high school classroom. Even if you run your classroom very well, and I feel like because I was pretty young when I was teaching, the kids kind of had a little bit of trust with me that they don't necessarily have as the teachers get older. Even in my room, that I felt was very functional, there was always just 45 kids to manage and a lesson plan to get out, and who hasn't eaten today, and so many different things that a teacher is responsible for, that to add the managing and caring of a firearm on top of that is just completely inappropriate to put on top of a teacher's job where they already have so many jobs to do, number one.
Right.
Number two, this program cost about $50,000 per teacher in the end to, to arm them, to train them, all this stuff. It's estimated it's costing the state of Arkansas about $50,000 per teacher.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you, if they're going to arm all these teachers, take $50,000 for 1 or 2 or 3 potential security guards? If you do want to introduce guns to school, and that's a whole other argument, should even security guards have them, why not have a trained professional who knows what to do with guns there, there in case anything could happen, rather than a teacher who really, I don't care if you give them a couple hundred hours of training, that's not their primary duty and what they're focused on. Third thing is, teachers are people and there's human error. So teachers do have personal relationships with kids. There's been at least, I'm telling you, if you're a teacher, at least one student has threatened you and said, I'm going to kill your ass. That it just adds the human element of it. What's the teacher's excuse then? Oh, a kid came to school today and said that he was going to kill me because I gave him a bad grade. Or
had to shoot him.
Had to shoot him. So the human error there, and then the lawsuits that'll happen when a teacher finally doesn't use the firearm right, or when a kid gets a hold of one. I mean, even if the teacher's holstering it, how do you know a kid's not going to grab it? It's just
let's take it to that place, because we can talk about it in theory, but the logistical nightmare alone. So should the teacher have the gun on them all the time? Should it be in a locked drawer? And then if it is, well, it's probably too late to get
already shooting.
Precisely.
Right.
So
and I feel like the teachers, because this isn't a mandatory thing, it's voluntary, and the teachers that are going to opt in are the ones who have these nut job fantasies where, like, a gunman is coming into the school, but they got ice cold water running through their veins, and they're just like, they're going to be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take this guy out. Which, by the way, no, you're not. Like, no human being ever is. So it's going to be these like gun happy people with like vigilante, hero fantasies, and who are more likely to shoot. So that worries me. The thing that really bothers me, though, is that, like, unfortunately, this is the logical end of our gun culture. You know what I mean? Like, barring some sort of massive shift in our cultural consciousness, this is just the way it's going to go.
Well, that's the
gun
sick
lobby
part.
has won.
That's the sick part. Remember when Wayne LaPierre, the president of the NRA, remember when he said a gun in every school and only a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun? And we were all, that was right after Newtown, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's bonkers. Well, now we are only, what, 6, 8 months after that, or at most 10 months, and already it's begun. So, and we couldn't pass meaningful gun legislation a couple months ago. So it's like, does this all just slippy slide slope?
It is a slippery slope into arm every teacher and have every teacher start to say it's my right to feel safe at my job, to carry a gun at school, and it's completely inappropriate for any teacher. I don't care what you're saying, unless your off-duty thing has to learn to train and become a security guard. If you're a teacher, you have no business having a gun on you while you're trying to educate a classroom. That's a complete separate job, the security and safety of the classroom, while you are in charge of the general safety and making sure nothing bananas is going on in your room. To add that on top of it, it just means that either you do have a vigilante problem or you feel so unsafe in your classroom that maybe you want to reevaluate your position as a teacher anyway. Because there's always
is there any way to reverse any of this though if we're going down that route?
Yeah,
and
one
it's
kid
begun?
gets shot. That's how it gets reversed. A teacher goes through it, and the kid gets shot. That's how it gets reversed.
All the time,
by
though, and it just seems to get worse. I don't know. I don't think. Then that person will get written off as a crazy, and then it'll be like, well, then we need to have background checks for the teachers who do it.
Smoked marijuana once when they were 15.
But then the NRA will say like, no, it's unconstitutional to have background checks for the teachers and whatever. No, unfortunately, we're going down this road. It's a bummer. I want to know who's going to be the first to like shoot into the air to quiet down their classroom.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that I feel like will happen on the third day of the school year.
Right. That's what it seems like.
Down, kaboom.
Exactly. That has to happen here. Unfortunately, you're going to arm these people. Something has to happen. They're not doing it, so nothing will happen. Something will happen. Someone's going to shoot. They're going to shoot through the roof and then just kill the kid upstairs. Like it just it does not end well.
I hated the fact that when the Newtown parents were kind of front and center when we were trying to pass some kind of sensible gun legislation. Pro-gun people were saying, "Well, that was an emotional appeal. That was a weak emotional appeal, to people's sympathy or whatever." Yet somehow this ridiculous BS about like a good guy with a gun being the only person who can stop a bad guy with a gun, which by the way is it appeals to your lizard brain just as much, if not more, somehow has made it possible to have like now armed teachers in a school in Arkansas.
You're right. It also is the same emotional knee-jerk reaction because the way that they're saying that they were using the families in Connecticut to appeal to you, like, oh, we can't have guns. It is the exact same knee-jerk reaction to the other side to be like, oh, kids got shot, arm everyone. Like, it's the same.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone doesn't mind the emotional appeal. They just want it to be their emotions that you share with them.